Hello we have 4 members online, so let's make sure that we keep them included. Just an expanded intro, my name is Matthew Owen. I'm a software developer for ZAACT. Like I said, I moved to Utah in September, thanks to ZAACT having an opening. Before then, I was a software developer for General Motors in Austin, Texas, and that's been for the past 3 years. Happy to be here. Already learned a lot.
Like how to drive in the snow?
I bike, so biking in the snow is harder. My skinny tires too, in boots. So yeah, if you see a crazy person out biking in this weather, it's usually me. Before I got involved with ZAACT, it was mainly on-premises SharePoint. So we had just upgraded to 2016, and at ZAACT, I've been learning all about Office 365 and how SharePoint has been incorporated into that, and how development opportunities have been expanded. And one of those cool features that I was introduced to was PowerApps and Flow. We had like a kind of a team meeting challenge to where we split up into groups, and we were presented with some use cases, and I found it really pretty sweet to be able to spin up an app just within the browser, not having to write any HTML or JavaScript, pretty much just like a form builder, like what I was used to at InfoPad. With InfoPad at my last job, but I found PowerApps and Flow, which is kind of a workflow engine that automates a lot of processes. I found that to be more intuitive, more user-friendly, more integration with a lot of the services that I use. And so I asked Chris if I could give a talk at the user group, and he said yeah. So let's get started. And just to show fans inside the room, I know Angie is using PowerApps and Flow, presumably at Ancestry. Has anyone else had any experience with PowerApps and Flow? Cool. A few hands. Yeah. Cool. Everyone's general opinion of it?
Yes.
It's halfway there.
It's halfway.
Like Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
We're living on a prayer. All right. Well, for the people that haven't gotten their hands wet with PowerApps, I just wanted to give you guys a quick introduction. So Microsoft says PowerApps is a suite of apps, services, connectors, and data platform that provides rapid application development environment to build custom apps for your business needs. I say PowerApps is a way power users can create and publish web and mobile apps all from the internet browser. So you're really enabling your power users, and as SharePoint admins, it's a great way for you to kind of teach people how to create their own app if your development budget is constrained. So apps built using PowerApps provide rich business logic and workflow capabilities using Flow to transform your manual business process to digital automated processes. And then they run both in the browser and on your phone. So I'll demo kind of the app that you can download on Android or iOS phones. And again, Microsoft is touting this as an InfoPath replacement from what, halfway there. So you find ways, just like SharePoint, you find ways to get around it. So if you're interested, or if you have your machine, you can follow along. If you go to web.powerapps.com and sign in with your Microsoft account, you can start to play around when we get into the demo part. Here's a video of it, but unless you guys really want to watch it, I can skip this. It's Microsoft's getting you hyped about their products.
If we weren't hyped, we wouldn't be here.
Exactly. All right, so the other part is Flow. So Flow is essentially allows users to create automated workflows between their favorite apps, synchronize files, get notifications, collect data. You can do this automated process, a schedule process, through a button, And just like you can have a bunch of trigger actions with some of your favorite products like SharePoint or OneDrive. And similar to PowerApps, to create a flow, you can go to flow.microsoft.com or using the waffle and selecting the flow application. So you guys ready to see it in action? Yeah? Man, so much excitement here.
I believe that's called a pizza coma.
The pizza cone. All right, so just a little bit of background. So the initial app that I wanted to show you was a candidate pipeline app that we had created, and that was expanded upon on our team building day. Unfortunately, it looks like our resources were low, and that site went away. So I had to quickly spin something up, but don't worry, I wanted to be sure to share how easy it was. So all I did to create this Power App is I created a list called upcoming meetings, and I thought, what needs a Power App? You know, what do I need on my phone? Maybe upcoming meetings of a SharePoint user group, so I don't forget about them. And so I created the list just like I would normally, and then I went to PowerApps.com, and I went to this option. So you're presented with a screen here. So this is the default create, and I started from data. So I clicked on this option, and I made this app, and I associated it. So I gave it the site URL, and then it was smart enough to realize, you know, I had a list called upcoming meetings, and then I said, make this app. And I actually want to show you guys it on my phone first. Rejoin. So in my last SharePoint user group meeting, I learned that you can share your phone. You can display your phone through Teams. So you guys are getting bonus content today. So, all right, so I am now inside my Teams meeting. I'm going to click on the share on my phone, start screen sharing, and Microsoft Teams, start broadcast, and it should work. Warning, you may see adorable pictures of my dog. Okay. So, go to your favorite Microsoft app. So PowerApps is the default. It'll show you all of your apps. I just want to show off the SharePoint user group upcoming meetings. So I'll click on that app, and it will open. And as you can see, it's nice and responsive, fits my screen completely. I can search for meetings. So if I search, January, and then click open, I can see, what the topic is, when it is, when the sponsor is. I can edit the item. My mom gets mad at me if I don't call myself Matthew sometimes. So I'll save that right from my
mom isn't here.
I know, but she always knows. Mom. Like Santa Claus. So.
Wish you were my kid.
So I just updated that. It's reflected back to the list. So the PowerApps has saved back to my list. And I actually have a flow running on this list. And it's a simple flow that just tracks anytime an item is created or modified. And it'll send me an email. So I'll go to my other favorite Microsoft app, Outlook. And I try to run a zero inbox. So hopefully this will work. Maybe it won't. But essentially the email, I can change. Oh, risky business with my Gmail. Trash. Yeah, there. So there is, I just did a simple, workflow that said this user, so the user's display name, which was me, Matthew Owen, has updated the SharePoint user group meeting list. Please review the item here. If I click on that link, it'll take me to the list item that I updated. So all of that was simply created by just going to both flow.microsoft.com and what.powerapps.com. And that's how I created those. So does anyone have any questions so far?
So when you went to Flow, did it also have an option to hook up with some data that was already out there, or?
Yes, it did. So we're gonna go into that. So I'll stop sharing my phone. And
So when I was playing with this a while ago,
Uh-huh.
you had to kind of pick if it was going to be a tablet or a phone, or has that changed?
So you pick, so some templates are just for mobile, but they respond, so some templates are just for mobile, but then some templates also have a desktop and mobile capability. And Angie, do you have more?
I mean, are they really responsive now? So the same app, you don't have to like, or is it basically you create one for one for the other?
So if you displayed what you just showed us on the computer, what would it look like?
It would look just like that.
It would look just like that.
Yeah, just like that.
Flat bars, okay.
Yeah.
You can do that, you can just.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So yeah, it's not really responsive, it's mobile.
Yeah.
Okay, that,
It's mobile on PC.
But then you can go into the SharePoint list, so if you wanted to customize it, so. And if you wanted this little, and the ribbon, so that's gonna be a shortcut for
And
PowerApps.
that will only give you a mobile view. It won't ever let you do a full width screen.
You can.
Yeah, you can switch it
Through
there.
the customized, or
Yeah.
that.
If you go to app settings, you can switch it to the mobile view, not a full width, but it has like a tablet view.
so that
can go
customizes,
into
just
custom
customizing your
and
SharePoint form.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to see that, because I spent hours trying to convert it to a desktop view, through that customized button. You can create an app and do a desktop view, but you can't create, I could not find a way to do the custom, that form right there. How do you make that go full screen?
File,
You can't.
Go to
file in the
file,
upper left-hand corner, right under back to SharePoint.
you go to app settings,
Yeah, app settings, down to,
then the middle one.
Oh.
So you
Today
have,
I learned.
and then hit custom. And go down. And anything you want to type in there.
If you need to leave now, we understand.
like I got it.
Yeah, everything I wish there was like better documentation on this, 'cause every time I did that, it was like, click on this template. I don't want the template, I want to customize it.
That's something every Microsoft user says all the time.
Oh.
Microsoft documentation. Oh,
But essentially, you can, if you're not, now we know how to increase the aspect ratio of the app. But if you want to make changes just to your SharePoint list view, you can do it there.
So just to know, what you did here though does not type your app
No.
at all,
No,
right?
the app is a separate
You can have them
form.
both,
Yeah.
but this doesn't have anything to do with your app, and you can't access this
Yes.
through your phone.
Well, you could using the
Using a browser.
the SharePoint app.
No.
No?
You have to do it in browser.
Okay.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so that's the fun part. But here in the, when an item is, so you can, in using Microsoft Flow, you can have a lot of different actions that you can use. So if you want to tie it into Twitter, Wunderlist, you know, what other tools are you guys using? You can do a
Slack.
Slack.
We're working on one right now type of Workday.
So this is all of the actions that you can do with Slack. Triggers are, so if you want to start a flow, you can start a flow when a file is created in Slack. So it's very easy, and all you would have to do is click on the post message, and then it would ask you to sign in. I do not have a Slack account. I have too many communication channels.
Do Teams.
Yeah. So with Teams, so we can add a step to Teams to post a message. What it's doing now is it's tying to my Teams account. I have, since this is my Office 365 developer account, I don't have any IDs or channels created. But you would just go in and select here, and then the workflow. So in this message, you could create, dynamic content, write in HTML to it. So if you wanted to do a link, you would just write HTML into the message. So yeah. Anything else with Flow that you guys want to see before we move into our new one?
Is this costing you a month?
What's that?
Is this charging you back a cost?
It depends on what license you have, I believe. So at least for Flow, it's included with your Office 365 subscription. I know PowerApps, there is kind of a pro and a standard kind of membership.
Do you guys know how many flows you can make or run? I don't know how the licensing works.
There's a number of iterations per license, and they're pooled for your organization. So if you have 1,000 users and it's 5,000, then they can that second number out. You have to one number times the other.
It's the number of times the workflow runs, or the flow runs, or the number of flows?
Flow run considerations.
Wow. Yeah, you can make some money there.
But it's a very large number,
Okay.
typically.
And it probably depends on if it's an E1, E2.
It's nothing you can go in and hook up flow before they go through and say,
If you're like most organizations, you've got 80% of your people that don't do anything and 20% that use the flows. But the flows that the 20% do are also taken out of the 80%. So it's pooled.
It's like 5,000 for the bottom tier per user per month.
That was the number I made up. I don't know what it is.
No, it is, and it's like 15,000 for the higher tier.
Yeah.
And
It's self-looking actually.
no one yet that I know of is even close to those numbers. Just because there's so few people that are actually doing it in an organization.
If you had a flow that fired every minute for every user, then you might. The other thing that's interesting is that there are premium connectors, and it gets kind of fuzzy when you start talking about who needs an E3 and who needs an E5 to get those premium connectors or a PowerApps Pro license. And I complained to Microsoft about that fuzziness because you don't ever know.
Where you're at.
Yeah, well, you don't know. Okay, you need a Pro license, but you're only going to look at it every third week, and so you don't need a Pro license. So,
Yeah.
I was unhappy with their licensing last time I talked to Microsoft, and I was very clear about that.
Yeah. Luckily, I stay on the development side of things. I'll let Chris handle all of the licenses and money thing.
So that was a somebody else's problem kind of look.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah. I build them, you use them, you worry about that.
Exactly. Darren and Sean's problem. All right, and then another thing I forgot. So for me being new so I've only been out of college for 4 years now, and essentially it's PowerApps is trying to replace any process that's like written down, pen and paper, you can replace with Flow, or at least that's kind of their hope for it. So any enterprise app, sometimes I have trouble, thinking of ideas that aren't, my current projects. So in my dev sandbox, what should I create as my, as my test app, so to say. So oftentimes I resort to signing up for email lists, posting the emails. Yeah.
So, just another question. Anybody here have experience using Nintex?
Yeah.
What's your comparison to this?
Nintex work
For context, Matt is in Nintex like 45 hours a week at this point, so.
Yes.
It's
If
probably
you need any help with
No,
Nintex forms,
I know Nintex really well. I
Yeah.
go to their conferences and I use it a lot, but
I think this has more integration. So Nintex workflow, you can do DocuSign, you can do your standard SharePoint integration. This has more connectors, and it also has more trigger actions and action items.
so it's more of a canned solution, a little bit watered down if you want. So Nintex is still on a higher level, but I've just not used a whole lot of flows yet. It seems more like if this then that type of a thing than a true business process.
Yeah, I mean, you can run switch statements. So,
So it's a little bit better than.
One of the biggest gaps that we found was looping and waiting. Nintex has really good looping actions. Do this 50 times or whatever until the user finally responds and approves this kind of thing. Whereas we found it was kind of lacking in Flow to do those sort of
Looping,
wait for 3 days.
that's a good one. And you said what, waiting, like a scheduled?
Yeah, so one of the things that we did a lot was what I call nagagrams, where it's like send this person nagagrams.
Oh, yeah.
Send this person an email every 3 days until they respond or whatever, but only do it 50 times, because if they haven't responded in 50 times, we don't care anymore.
Sounds like a good idea at the beginning of the project and then when it implements it.
So we start nagging their boss.
And so we found that, and this was a month or two ago, so it may have updated since then, but we found that Flow had a lot of problems doing the looping until kind of things.
Yeah. So Microsoft will kind of point you in the directions of Flow, functions at that point, Azure functions.
Right.
And they've seen PowerApps, Flow, Azure functions, and some of the Dynamics workflows together.
Is there another layer of the Power Apps, like, because I know Azure Functions is kind of like.
So both of those connect with functions. So you can actually do a connector to functions right there.
Right.
Well, not there, not getting go up, but there is a connector for Azure Functions where you can call a specific function, and if you want to do your loop and waits, you can do them there.
In Azure Functions.
Yeah.
What about the Power Apps? Since Flow has like a dev version in Azure Functions, is there a similar type of product out there that is better than Power Apps for like those dev guys, or is it just about whatever you want? I guess say SharePoint framework, right?
Yeah.
Definitely just talking custom dev, just build your own website.
And PowerApps, the real messaging is a no-code solution, which I would argue that, if you no code, it makes PowerApps better. Because you can kind of use that dot notation and like pick up things faster than your typical end user would.
Well, yeah, and then if you go to the Power Apps, there's that, the edited version of your app.
I have this
There we go. Maybe it's the next one.
it's not letting me because I have.
I never figured that. Yeah, so that function up there, I haven't really explored that.
Yeah, so essentially like visible, so you have all of these options, so you can set visible, and then you can write a if, statement here. So if title.text is blank, visible is set to false and true. And so you can write those kinds of logic
So,
into your app.
kind of like zooming out a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Rules actually writes those for you.
Right.
Rules writes the formulas.
Yeah. So it's similar to like when you run macros in Excel. You hit the record button and then you do the things. It's a similar process. So.
I have found that it's easier to do the flow, logic and flow, and not touch rules and PowerApps.
Really? Okay. I in my experience with PowerApps just getting started, it's mainly, if I want to hide a button until something is is filled out. I've been doing that for rules. So let's get it. Do you guys want to try to create our own Power App together, or do you guys want to continue to just kind of see what capabilities, some other users may have, or try to figure some things out?
Okay, I'm totally oblivious, so
Yeah.
to get the Power App, do I have to have permission from my SharePoint product, or is this just something that I can just do on my own?
We'll have to license you,
Right, okay.
and then if they've licensed you, then you should have access to it.
Yeah, in a way that you can share.
And then we just have access.
Well, and does it surface in classic lists, or does it only surface in modern lists? So if you don't see it, you might, and you have a site, you might not be at the modern experience.
Okay. I was just wondering, because, we have access to it, but we don't do anything else. But
And a way you can check is by clicking on the waffle and seeing your apps. And so it's in the top right or top left.
That's cute, how they call that a waffle. I learned something new.
I learned that last time, didn't I?
Just got me hungry. So a few years ago, when I was working more in these Power Apps, they had a desktop client. I can't find that anymore as a download.
It's
gone.
All
They
on the
did
browser.
deprecate it. Why did they do that?
So that they can say you can easily build apps for mobile and browser from your browser.
Did they get rid of the Power BI client?
No, you can still use your Power BI client.
It's still in place. Weird. Okay. Good enough.
But yeah, so searching all apps, you can find Flow in here as well. So here's Flow. Here's PowerApps. Question?
So I'd like to know, just, you said 50% there, or halfway there, or whatever it was. So what have you been running into that's like not there, that needs to?
So I learned that, so I'm just getting started with PowerApps and Flow, and after talking to Angie, so Angie can expand on that more. Why would you say PowerApps is about 50% of the way there for your production apps?
Sorry, something popped up
Oh,
on the
no.
screen. So the question was,
why
versus
would we say that
Yeah,
PowerApps is almost halfway there, or not quite a full
So
solution?
I'm a heavy user of SharePoint Designer Gateway. So,
I am too.
right, so,
it's mostly just the integration with the list, right? So the choice, people picker, and it's not lookup, it's in management data, right?
Calculated columns,
What's that?
calculated columns.
Drop that.
No, not the columns, but those three are called complex columns inside of Power Apps. So you can't just create a choice build and then set it up in Power Apps and have it work. You have to then go create a drop down Power Apps, populate it with those values, and then make it patch itself to update the information to SharePoint. It's such a pain because you didn't have, and the same thing with people. With the people, you can just can't just pick it.
As an app, but as a custom form, it does come. No, even in the form?
Even in the form. I'm
Really?
working on one right now in the form.
and is that supposedly just coming, they're just not there yet? Is that what you
I
said?
don't know, actually, that's what I was looking at. Microsoft has Power Apps Champions. Are you a member? I thought it's not, oh. Anyway, so they have a group, and we have discussions on Yammer. We have a couple of Microsoft reps that work with us on it. They kind of avoid the question.
Really, okay.
So.
It works in Nintex.
You didn't want to hear that.
But Nintex doesn't give you an app, it only gives you a form.
Yeah, but Nintex has to pay for it.
True. You do.
It's a good tool.
I'm doing work for clients, and unless they buy Nintex, I'm stuck in info path. We're just getting more and more outdated. But, I think that's really, really powerful. It's hard to work with and quirky, but.
How much is Nintex, do you know? Anybody know?
It just depends. We've got like 5 licenses for 5 workflows, and it's like,
Yeah, Nintex licensing works based on workflows. So you buy a certain amount of workflows and it gives you an allocation for production forms and development forms, and you can buy more workflows to increase your forms.
It only counts as a workflow if it's more than 5.
5 actions. So if you have, if you have a workflow that just sends an email off to somebody, that won't count against your allocation of how many workflows you bought. It's 5 or more steps. So start an approval, update an item, you know.
That's new this year, that 5 action items thing, I think is something that's relatively.
Well, the licensing per workflow is also fairly new. It used to be by licenses per person.
Right, so so back in the old days, you would buy one license for one web front end, and so every web front end server that you had in your farm, you'd pay for all of that, which is, you get really pricey, like $100,000. It's really pricey. Now they do subscription pricing, like they're talking about. We pay like $5,000 for 10 workflows every year. So not 10 people, 10 workflows. It's different than the flows and the Power Apps.
Okay.
You can run an in-text workflow as many times as you want. It doesn't cost you anymore because it's just for the chance to edit and build a workflow. So one workflow, if it's more than 5 steps. How many forms do you get, you say?
The forms are unlimited.
Unlimited, yeah.
Not in our experience.
Oh,
So
really?
we thought they were. What we're running into now is with how many workflows we have, it's 150 production forms and 600 development forms. Production forms don't have a watermark that says development use only on it. That's at least what our experience is with them.
But they also have a cloud platform, on-prem solution, and it's integratable with Office 365. So they have 3 tools in their ecosystem that you can talk to, and their subscription counts on all 3.
Yeah.
So if you have a workflow in on-prem, that's one. If you have one in Office 365, that's another. But if you have one, like the way I'm using it is I'm sending all my data to the cloud. So I do small little component workflows in the other 2 environments and send everything and run all my logic in their cloud service. That way my servers aren't pegged with anything. All I do is bundle up a packet, send it to the cloud service, and it runs the logic and does everything for me. So,
Have you used Hawkeye?
I have not used Hawkeye, no.
So yeah, so what would you guys like to see? You guys want to try
Just
to build our own
do it.
Power App?
Yeah, let's build it app.
All right, so what app should we build? Ideas.
Do you?
I'd like to know what tomorrow's NASDAQ number is going to be.
Oh.
Crystal ball.
I need more help with no more specific.
Is the government going to be shut down tomorrow?
I can answer that.
Yes.
At least through Thursday.
You got an idea, Matt?
Is it going to be shut down next
You
week?
get on an idea or you need one?
Yes.
I do, unless I'm going to do is the government going to be shut down tomorrow? And just have a screen that says yes.
I almost did
I don't know where's
on the way
Mitch.
here. So if we could get like a dog poop recording app, that would work for me.
Oh, so something you can incorporate with your phone?
Interesting.
Send it right to the cops. Yeah.
Unrover.
I don't know if my word is good.
How it works is you take a picture of somebody in a park with their dog pooping and it just goes straight to Twitter.
There we go.
Public shaming.
Yeah, so you guys can see. There a reason that it would
Is yours still live? The screen is not?
yeah.
Go to meeting again.
I think the network may pick up.
Which network are you connected to?
Those connected to your hotspot.
To mine?
Yep.
Get off my hotspot.
Guess net. There we go. All right.
We're back.
And now Chris is out of data for the month.
Yes, he is.
They're bill you, Greg.
Send me emails so I can bring.
Okay.
I ripped your black and white Salt Lake City picture from the internet. Pretty great. So here's another example of how easy it is. So it's a simple one. I click on the property tab to the left, and then I'll just modify this, and I want it aligned center. And then my text now showing up centered. Makes that 25. All right, and then we'll do a new screen and have it be blank. We'll rename this one to our welcome screen. And we'll add a button. Navigate to other way to say that is next. And then if you click on this, have your on select. So if you click on your button,
Switch to size.
action, and then you can easily use this navigate, and then you can say that you want it to go to screen 2, and you want it to have a cover transition. And then if I test that, I can test by just clicking F5, and then if I hit this, it'll go to screen 2. Screen 2 is blank. So we know that that button's working. Insert media. So we said we wanted to add our, I hate that. So we wanted to add a camera so that we could take, a picture of if someone's dog, had done their business in our yard and we wanted to report them. This will tie into our camera on our smartphone, so we can pull up this app on our smartphone and submit it. So I'm gonna add the camera last. So we're going to add a button which will do something. And we will add a media, which is our picture, image. We can preview the image before we submit it. And if I'm going too fast, I'm sorry. Or if I'm going too slow, I'm sorry. It has like the similar, like, you want to be all pretty and line up. And then on select, we can run, do a flow, or what should we do on our button? Send a picture to Chris's email or something?
Let's do that, yeah.
Okay, come pick this up.
You want to send it to SharePoint site. It's harder to do.
Yeah, okay. Button, action.
You gotta change it.
It's harder to share your collection when it's in your personal email than in an images library.
Did we do a webinar with Laura Richards on some of this?
We did.
Yeah. Did you share that somewhere on the website or?
I'll go back and look.
Near the action. This is where I would Google, you know, what's put in the on select to submit it to a SharePoint list. Do you know, Angie, off the top of your head?
This is a customized form, you'd have to do a patch.
It's have to connect to it somehow first.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll save that. We'll save this. We'll call it our cleanup app.
For example, we could kick that information off to a flow and then use flow to shove it into the SharePoint app. Just to make things more complicated.
Oh, yeah. And now I'm going to see if I can get it on.
You take a picture of Josh's pizza crust.
There you go. It's kind of like a dog dude. I just love the marvels of technology. We're going from your phone, through a Teams, into a go-to meeting, into a projector, onto the wall.
Right? When is it too much?
When it stops working.
So I noticed your background there. Is this why Chris is bringing up this app?
Probably. She's 105 pounds, so it's not small. All right. So our cleanup app, downloading it. So we have to allow, and now we have our welcome app. Hit next, and now you can see you beautiful people. Isn't that cool though? And if I wanted to do, you could you can associate the image to the right. You can have that be, so you would just set it to the dot picture of the camera function. So I went too fast, I'm sorry. Okay. So that's how easy you can integrate it and just spin something up. So I mean, I obviously am not an expert at this, but with a simple reading of documentation and such, you can become a super user of Flow and PowerApps. And honestly, it's all of the documentations here. They have multiple video courses that you can use for PowerApps. So if you want guided learning, kind of what like Code Academy does, or any of those training services, they do the videos where you have to complete a form to specific requirements. So you have to hide a button before you can advance to the next round. And then their documentation is pretty good. And then what I like is that they have a blog, that gets updated pretty regularly, 3 times today.
Do you see a lot of focus on Microsoft's side? Anybody for updating PowerApps to forms, all that stuff? I know they're ignoring InfoPath. Are they focusing on PowerApps like they said they're supposed to be?
They are. When you look at the new modern experience, PowerApps and Flow are kind of integrated naturally as part of each iteration of SharePoint Online.
Right.
So for instance, Flow was just added as approvals into most of the modern libraries, and even some of the blog posts and stuff that you can do in the new modern experience are all really Flow-based. So Microsoft is focusing on them. It's just not 100%. It's not a Flow replacement, or an InfoPath replacement, sorry,
Right.
yet.
But try with some
Supposed
of
to be
your.
by 2023, right?
If they don't push it back again, right?
Right.
Is that right? So if it's 2023?
2023 is what they've said, but with the emphasis that they're putting on Flow and PowerApps right now, I can't imagine that it'll actually take that long. Just the amount of features and support that it's received in the last year, I think says a lot. And Ignite itself was really focused towards this idea of updating their business process management.
And it's spread beyond SharePoint and Office 365. It's part of the Dynamics family now and others too.
This people picker issue would be huge for us, and then also it doesn't allow external users the capability to come in. So are those things like 2023 bound too, you think? Or
I don't think the external users is 2023 bound. So one of the best things you can do on any Microsoft product right now is go voice your interest at user voice. They do listen to those.
Okay.
They use that as a priority list. And I'd have to look, but I remember external users was pretty high.
Yeah.
On the
They've
list
said
right now.
they've heard loud and clear that
Okay,
it's desired. You know, what's taking them time to get there, I don't know.
Any more with the 5,000 view limit? I know Modern's supposed to go through and overcome it with the actionable lists, but they still limit it to 20,000. We're hitting 150, 200,000 with their lists. Anybody have any?
I think the guidance is still the same if you add an index
I know.
to your list.
We've added indexes. We've added indexes after indexes.
It's up to about 50,000.
Yeah, we're having to go through move applications out of SharePoint just because SharePoint can't handle it.
Yeah, outside, once you get above 20 or 30,000, yes, you can index. Yes, it kind of works. Doesn't always work. We've mostly had to move to using the search API with lists that are that large.
What good?
The search API and building a custom view of that. So
A search API.
yeah,
We did the same thing in the last job. We had a document library with about 250,000 documents. We would never hit the list directly. We would always use search. And it was fine. And performance was lightning fast, so.
That's interesting.
And that would be done through like Visual Studios or?
So you can do it a couple of different ways. Back then, we didn't really have a choice because it was originally built in 2007, so it wasn't as rich of
Right.
other endpoints. You know, now with like the Microsoft Graph, are you guys on premise or online?
Online, probably online.
Online. So yeah, with like the Graph or even just the SharePoint API endpoints, you know, it's great to be able to just put some JavaScript together in SharePoint FX and just use the framework and away you go.
So basically we needed to go.
Let us come in and help you out. You tell me.
Yeah, I've been
No,
trying.
I'm actually a developer that's on a job right now. Tough that.
Well, unless anyone else wants to explore any further PowerApps or Flow, I'll let us get to kind of that Q&A section of our meeting. Thank you guys for letting me present today. Look forward to learning from more of you guys and continuing the journey with Flow and PowerApps.
Sorry, you're just walking down. Does anybody use the CDS for PowerApps? The common data sources?
So that's really on that other side of the house with the Dynamics family. I've played around with it, I haven't really used it. But I've played with it, it works really well. They've got like over 200 entities already designed where you just pop in your data, you don't have to actually, you know, build the definitions or anything yourself.
Yeah. How about a custom data connector? Like hooking up to like a data repository that's not in SharePoint or has anybody done that? Hooking up
I've seen a demo of one built, and I'm trying to remember, it's not GraphQL, there's, what's the way they decorate their APIs? As long as it's decorated in a certain way, it will actually just work. I don't remember the name of it. But basically, if it's a RESTful type method, it will generally work pretty well. Swagger. Swagger. So if you know what Swagger is,
Darren's got
API is
Swagger.
Darren does have swagger. That's a different
Straight away,
swagger.
just catwalk there for it.
That was harder to come by.
They come by naturally.
That's not digital swagger.
Are you gonna go over any of this on this Super Saturday, or is it more SharePoint?
We do have some PowerApps and Flow stuff scheduled for SharePoint Saturday, so there will be more content there. We do have all of the speaker sessions published to the SPS events site. So if you're curious, who and what they're speaking on, you can go kind of look through that list. It's all there. And I did find the Lara Rogers video. It's actually on Christian Buckley's Collab Talk YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, search for Collab Talk, COLLAB, Collab Talk. It's listed in her videos.
Are we posting this recording for later
We're going to try.
to our YouTube channel? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anybody here go watch our YouTube channel ever?
I think
You're all here, you don't need to, right?
Right, that presentation's immobilized now.
Ron said he didn't know what happened, so maybe that's news to other people too. Was that worth the effort? It really is.
Slash you did yesterday.
So there are 4 speaking sessions on SharePoint Saturday just dealing with PowerApps.
Good.
They're all the same hour.
I hope that's not true. That's how it always is, right?
I can't help it. I was raised this way.
A little bit of attitude.
You volunteered to help. There's a reason you didn't accept. Just so you know.
I understand. That's why it's safe to volunteer. When you're in no condition.
Does anyone else have any questions for Matt?
Sorry, guys, I'm nervous.
It was great. Thank
You
you.
did great.